It's time for another season of The Palmetto Porch, an original podcast from Discover South Carolina. I'm Devin Whitmire. Join me as I get to the heart of what makes South Carolina such a great place to visit by speaking to the locals who make it so special. Premiering December 5th, find The Palmetto Porch wherever you get your podcasts. And for more information about our show, visit scpalmettoporch.com.
How often have you thought about just getting rid of everything? And I mean everything. Your house, your cars, your furniture, just about every single thing that you own. I mean, when you really think about it, having no mortgage, no car payments, or no house repairs to tie you down sounds pretty amazing, doesn't it? Maybe a little scary, but what's life without a little risk? Over the years, we've seen the pendulum swing from families and small houses to McMansions, and then back again to downsizing in tiny homes. And recently, the Wall Street Journal reported that millennials, well, if they have money, they actually want homes that are over 20,000 square feet. And some people have gone one step further. I'm talking about having a home on wheels and the open road just stretching out in front of them, leading them wherever they want to go.
One day I saw him working so hard out in our yard. We had a very large backyard, and Hal was taking care of the pool. He was doing all the landscaping. He was trimming all the trees. And it killed me to see him working this hard, trying to keep our home up, you know. And so I just thought about that, and the thought didn't go away. And I finally, what can we do to resolve this so he doesn't have to work so hard? He's traveling 2 and 3 days a week. He gets home, he's tired. So anyway, the thought occurred to me that in order to see family, we'd have to go there. So how could we do that and stay long enough to build a relationship? And then I got to thinking, wait a second, we could get an RV.
I'm Kim Commando, and in this Commando On Demand podcast, I'm actually bringing back one of my most favorite couples in the entire world. I just love them dearly. I'm talking about Jackie and Hal. If you haven't listened to my first podcast with them, well, you just have to go back and do it. Almost 3 years ago, I spoke to them as they were embarking on the ultimate lifestyle change and adventure. Jackie and Hal did what many of us have thought about. They sold everything. They bought a luxury RV, and they began to live life on their own terms. Well, of course, they also drug their Corvette behind them wherever they go. I was so excited for them. I love Jackie. Jackie was once my personal assistant, and over the years, she became one of my best friends. Along with Hal, they are my extended family. So I couldn't wait to see how all of this played out for them. And RVs aren't just for camping anymore. These amazing mobile units are really full houses on wheels with everything that you could need, just maybe on a much smaller scale. And you may think that RVs just cost you money. Well, also in this podcast, we're going to speak to our director of sales here at the Kim Commando Show about how he's actually making money by owning an RV and how you can do the same. So you want to stay right where you are, because this is one of these podcasts that you're going to want to listen to, I bet you, more than once. And speaking of my podcasts, I have to tell you, the Commando On Demand podcast is not the Kim Commando Show. These Commando On Demand podcasts are full of extended interviews and news and things that I'd like to explore in great detail. And to get the Kim Commando Show, that's the nation's largest weekend radio show that just happens to be about everything digital, you have to head over to getkim.com. Once again, that's getkim.com for the official Kim Commando Show 3-hour weekend show podcast. So just stay right where you are, and we're going to talk about RVs and making money and the open road. You two have been living it up. I mean, every time I talk to you, I see what's going on Facebook. You're busy doing something. So, be honest with me now. How has life on the road been?
It's like there's never enough time to get anything done. I mean, while I'm here, it's a different kind of busy no matter where we are. I mean, because we're around family, number one, so everybody wants to see us. Everybody wants to spend time with us. So I feel like we're running. Right, Hal?
Well, I don't know when we had time for a job, quite frankly. Since we retired, we've just been going 100 miles an hour and loving every minute of it.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I wish we'd have done it 10 years earlier.
Yeah, it's such an adventurous way to live. You never know what you're going to be doing from one day to the next and where you're going.
We talked about this in the last podcast, but just to bring us all up to date, what's the biggest change to your lifestyle? I mean, since you were working for U.S. Airways, Hal, and Jackie, you were working for me.
I think for me, it's just Jackie and I being able to spend the amount of time we do together. Obviously, with our jobs, Jackie took her, time that she needed for her stuff. Back in the days when I was working, obviously, I was out of town a lot. So, it's a huge change. We spend a lot of time together. The plus side of that is our relationship has grown so much. It's just unbelievable. Don't you think, Jackie?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
She doesn't hate me quite as much as she used to.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with we're more relaxed, number one, because we don't have a real strict schedule. We are in charge of our schedule, so it is pretty flexible. We feel like, for instance, I'll give you an example. The weekend before, we decided to drive our bus out to some regional park here in Arizona and enjoy watching our son do a 44-mile bike race. So what we decided to do was drive up the night before, relax, chill out, get a good camping spot, because they were going to end up at Lake Pleasant. So there's campsites at Lake Pleasant. So we just took our whole house and went to Lake Pleasant and enjoyed the whole weekend. We were able to be there to watch him come across the finish line, and then that evening he didn't have to drive all the way home. He just spent the night with us and, just chilled out. And we had
the grandkids with us, and that's always a hoot.
Yeah.
Having the kids with us. The weather wasn't that great, so we were stuck inside for the most part. But quite frankly, it worked out okay. We had some other visitors come up the day of the race, and we had a house full of people.
We had a bus party.
But we had food and drink, and it was just great. And I mean, everybody had a place to be, and
there was plenty of room in the bus. What did we have, like 9 people on the bus?
Yeah, 9 people in there, and
there was plenty of room.
Yeah, so it was no big deal. And the good news is, we got to sleep on our own bed every night.
I think what everyone really wants to know is, since you've been all over the country, what's the most spectacular thing that you've seen, that you've experienced?
That is such a hard question, because there are so many things, and I'm not kidding you. I mean, just going across the Golden Gate Bridge in the bus was like a thrill. Not because, there's not very much room going across the Golden Gate Bridge for a big vehicle like we're in. We're 70 feet long because we're towing a 25-foot trailer on top of it. So, but the view is what gets me. When you're in an RV where the front is all glass like that, the view is spectacular. So every place we go, there's always a wow, isn't there, Hal?
Absolutely. I mean, we can be in Iowa, the fields in Iowa, and the countryside is just amazing.
And Wisconsin.
And all of that part of the country. We very much enjoyed our little short trip up through South Dakota. But to Jackie's point, that windshield is like a living room big window, but you see the world from the highway, and it's just absolutely fabulous. And the cool part is, if we see something that interests us, that we can pull off the road and stop in and see what's going on and enjoy the view. And again, there's just so much to see out there, even if it's just going down the highway. I mean, it is just absolutely fantastic.
Okay, what about surprises? What has surprised you the most?
We're finding more and more places that we love to stay. There's a spot in these 2 old ladies that own an RV park in Iowa, I want to say. Every time we go through there, I think they're on I-80, and we've gone by there a few times now, but we always stop and see this beautiful park. It's an RV park. The yards are huge. It's all grass. It's well manicured. It's such a beautiful little place. And we've only spent one night each time we go through. But it always kind of stood out to me that this is such a gorgeous park, The problem is that it is out in the middle of nowhere. And there is nothing but fields around there. And, my heart goes out to them. They've got a beautiful park. And the only business that they're getting, for the most part, I think, is what's coming off of I-80. And they're a couple miles off the highway. Those kind of places really stand out to me. The place we just came from in Winters, California, back up in the canyon. It's absolutely breathtaking. We love the mountains anyway, both of us do. And so being able to really camp while we're staying, we were there almost 6 months this year.
Mm-hmm. Special reason behind that.
Yeah, special reason behind that. Just such a gorgeous place. Now, it comes with challenges. I mean, that kind of a place, just about everywhere we go, we've got internet and we've got our phones and, we've got everything that we need. With Jackie working a lot with you all here, and I do some things, quite a few things on the internet as well. Those things are kind of important. But in Winters, California, not only do we not have any phone service, their internet had a lot to be desired, let me just say that. It worked, but it was not the greatest in the world. And in this particular season, obviously, as you know, they had some real issues up in that part of the country. We were right across the mountain from Napa when they had their fires up there. Just prior to those fires, we had one just a mile or two down the road from our campground, which took out the landlines, took out the internet, and closed all the roads. So we couldn't get in or out of this place.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's a little scary, intimidating.
Yeah, and there was no kind of service at all.
I know you love living the dream in the RV, or the bus as you like to call it, but is there anything that you miss about having a traditional house?
Having the flexibility. We're very comfortable in our home, and I don't know. What are your thoughts, Jackie?
Well, I came out of a very large kitchen, so I'm very restricted at the moment. And so I like to have all the latest gadgets and stuff for baking and cooking and all that stuff. So obviously I've had to scale down a lot. However, the bonus is we do have the big slides. We have a basement under the bus, the big slides that come out. So I have probably most of the slides filled with baking pans and cooking gadgets and bread machine, everything else anybody else has that I use. But it is, I have to go to the basement to get it sometimes.
And the working space in the bus obviously is a little bit restrictive, but she does a terrific job. I mean, there's not anything that she hasn't been able to do that she did at home.
I know every time I talk to you guys, you're in a different part of the country. But what happens when you just want to take a little break from driving or visiting people? Where do you go?
We're in Wisconsin in the summertime. Jackie's sister and brother-in-law have property there that it's full of trees. Northern Wisconsin is just huge amount of woods. And on their property, they had a lot of trees. And when we discussed this possibility with them, they immediately went to work and cut out trees the size of our bus so that we could park the bus. And the first year we got there, we ran electrical out from his house so that we could have electricity. And of course, water is very easy there. And the spot that he picked for us was not too far from their sewer system. So we ended up in this beautiful wooded area that is so quiet and so peaceful.
I think it's 750 acres of nothing but woods and the beautiful scenery. I mean, we have windows all the way around the bus, and plus, the big window in the front of the bus. And so when you open the curtains in the morning and see all that, I mean, it's breathtaking. Yeah, one night we were sitting on the patio, and I had just gone on the bus, and Hal was sitting out there, and a deer came in from the woods and started walking toward Hal. And I don't know, did it scare you? Because it was dark.
No, but it's very cool that, they're just out there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot
and
of
the turkeys.
The wild turkeys are amazing. Yeah, and it's just terrific. It's one of my favorite places, quite frankly. We can go back in there and not see another person for days. It is so quiet. I mean, if you needed to hide out someplace, that would be a great place to hide out. But they did so much work. I mean, he downed a bunch of trees in order to make space for us to accommodate that bus. So it was really kind of cool.
Okay, obviously I have some tech questions for you, and I know the audience does too. Jackie, I never want to let you go. You know that. I call you from time to time and say, oh, please, do you have just time for one more project? So you do this work for me on the road. And she always has her laptop with her. But what would you say is that one gadget that you just couldn't live without?
Well, it's not uncommon for us to use our laptops going down the highway. I do, while he's driving, obviously, because of the hotspots on the cell phones. And I don't know, I think my iPhone is like my biggest thing because I use that frequently. If we're going down the road and it's taking quite a few days to get someplace, we always stop at a nice campground and early and have a nice dinner, blah, blah, blah. But I use that to find out where we're going to stop that night. We don't plan it ahead because it never works out, does it?
Our biggest tech item that we use on our bus, probably, of everything, is the GPS on our phone.
Yeah.
And my navigator sits over there, and no matter where we're going, if we're not quite sure where we're going, obviously that's the big thing. If we're going to someplace where we are not familiar, we throw on the GPS just because if we make a mistake, it's not easy to turn that thing around. So we have to be pretty sure about where we're going, and the GPS is a godsend.
Every highway, let me slip away on you.
If anyone has recently researched RVs, you know that they can be bare bones or completely tripped out with every bell and whistle imaginable. And the flexibility, the comfort, the affordability is becoming more and more attractive to families, not just for making it a full-time home, but for family vacations. Taking an RV trip is now, are you ready for it? It's hip. And there are so many companies, like one of our new sponsors, Outdoorsy, who will hook you up with exactly what type of RV that you need. Think of it as the VRBO for RVs. And this brings me to our Director of Sales, Kip Kurowski. Kip, I'd like you to meet my dear friends Jackie and Hal. And the reason why is that you guys have a lot in common. You see, Kip owns an RV too, and he doesn't live in it full time. He uses it for vacations. But when he's not using it, this is fascinating to me, he's renting it out. So instead of having an RV just sit in a park or in some gated lot or maybe on your driveway, is that you can actually put it online, let other people use it, and then you're making money. So Kip, tell us all how that all came about. And I'm going to let the three of you just talk it out, and I'm not going to barge in.
Well, when we bought this, it was a really super nice Class C, so it's not quite a bus or Class A, but it cost a good amount of money, and we planned on using it a lot, and our agenda changed, moving to Arizona. So now the RV spends most of the time in storage, and there's a company called Outdoorsy.com that we're able to rent the RV to select people that we qualify for a good amount of money. I've gotten 4 rental commitments already, totaling about $6,000. It averages about $250 a night. So when we're not using it, the RV is actually paying itself off. My initial concerns were, well, what if they wreck it? What if they abuse it? For example, in our case, we chose that there are no pets allowed. Obviously, we chose that there's no smoking permitted. We get Outdoorsy secures a $2,500 deposit for any damage of that nature that may occur. Outdoorsy.com also provides the vehicle insurance and roadside assistance. So if they were to break down for some reason, that's covered. If they were to have an accident, it's fully covered. So they're really, my liability is minimal as far as the rig being used, because that was our biggest concern. When we're able to, when things slow down here with Commando and we're able to enjoy this in a year or so, we want it to still be in like new condition because it is brand new. And so we're satisfied with what Outdoorsy provides. And so now when instead of it sitting there collecting dust, other people can enjoy it. They can enjoy the RV lifestyle without having to make a 6-digit investment. and they can rent it for a week or two. I've got one person that wants it for a month. And, and then they're done with it until the following year, and they're not stuck with the big RV payments and maintenance payments and operation payments. So it worked well for us. We loved it.
How do you qualify the renters as far as being able to drive? What size is it?
Mine is a 32-foot.
So that's pretty good size. So how do you qualify them that they can handle that or know what to do?
Each rental, first of all, Outdoorsy.com does background check. They do driver's license check and all these other things before they even issue them to insurance to be a qualified renter. As far as the driver training, I basically set aside 2 hours to go through the operation of everything on board, show them how the onboard generator works, show them how the satellite works, show them how the levelers work, show them how all the different components function, when they should plug in, when they don't need to plug in, when they should use the generator, when they shouldn't use the generator. As far as driving it, it's a very good question. I'm assuming that the majority of these people will be responsible, and I go through all the basics about watching when you're pulling out of gas pumps, and always watch for low-hanging overheads. I put stickers, printed the stickers all over. Do not exceed 4,000 RPMs. Watch for low-hanging bridges. Watch your clearance. Don't exceed 70 miles an hour. Watch your curves. And then I typed up a nice, basically operation manual that I make them read and sign, so they know that I've covered all of the driving skills and differences that they should be aware of when operating a motorhome versus a vehicle of any other type.
Now, do you have to provide the insurance for this, or
no?
Does
They pay for it.
The website does.
Outdoorsy.com actually provides it to the renter. The renter can pay for it on a daily basis.
Okay.
I also purchased from Outdoorsy a blanket policy to make sure that anything that's not covered is covered.
Okay.
And that was like $250. So
is that over and above the your personal insurance?
Yes. My personal insurance will not cover anything that happens while this is rented. So my personal RV insurance.
Right.
Because they consider that to be a commercial
correct
agreement.
But you were able to find an insurance provider that would do that for you?
Outdoorsy does all of it. That's the thing.
Oh, they do it all.
It is so simple. If you go to Outdoorsy.com, it is so simple for owners to do, and they have the forms and the they have everything.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's great.
Because my biggest concern and my wife's biggest concern is that some kid's going to be in there and they're going to tear the couch or something like that.
Right.
Well, that's where the deposit comes in. They hold a $2,000 deposit. In our case, you can select any amount you want from $500 to $5,000. Outdoorsy collects and holds that. Once the RV is returned and you inspect it, if there's anything that's damaged, then you file the claim with Outdoorsy. Outdoorsy gives you the money to fix it, and that's how that works.
Oh, that's really great.
That's a fantastic way to invest in a unit, in an RV.
It really is, and it, like I said, in my case, I've only been doing it for less than a month, and I've got $6,000 in reservations already.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And I get every 2-3 times a week, I'm getting inquiries.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you can set rates for not just the rental itself. I'm averaging about $250 a night, even though the rental price is only $195. Because you're able to increase it for holiday season and busy seasons.
Right.
You're able to get a premium rate. But then you also include on there cleaning deposits. So it encourages the renter to bring it back clean.
Certainly.
A fuel deposit. It's only half the size of what you put in your Class A, but it's still $150 to fill that up.
You bet.
So you get that in advance. So you're protected on all ends. And then I put in a bunch of goodies at no cost to entice better quality renters. I'm providing his and her bicycles, and there's a raft underneath it, and there's fishing gear underneath it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Really good.
So they can, take their kids and head up to the Grand Canyon and just, park for a week and have a great time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a barbecue that comes with it.
That's excellent.
All these things. So they can really make an event out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And,
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Now, you said you bought your unit brand new?
Yes, I did. It's a
How long?
2017. I bought it in May, a month before I started here.
Okay. And have you had it out quite a bit?
I've taken it out 3 times.
And any issues with it?
No.
None?
None. There were issues the first time. We made a list of about 8 or 9 different things.
Yeah, see, 8 or 9 different things.
And we brought it back to have them all repaired.
See?
I've learned from my parents who are like you, they're snowbirds and they're full-time RVers. So they leave Montana as soon as it starts getting cold, and they go down to Casa Grande and they have places in Needles and Casa Grande and other locations that they park at for a month.
Sure.
And I learned from them a long time ago that these RVs break regularly. Mm-hmm. And to not bother to bring it back for repairs when one thing breaks, but to wait till you have a list of things.
We know why.
Well, especially when they're brand new. My experience has been, and folks that I am familiar with have always had issues with brand new. And we had just talked about that, and I thought that I would ask that question.
Yeah, there's been some problems, but, fortunately, we bought ours through Camping World. And
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's been there's been good and bad. The good is that they have the locations everywhere, so I can get it in a shop anywhere. The bad news is we were tremendously screwed with the amount that we paid. I mean, that's reality.
This is going to take an awful lot of editing. I can tell you that here right now.
Well, that's a true statement. You can keep that in there.
Thanks, Kip, for joining us. Now, I do have to let everybody know, Kip was reluctant to come on the podcast because he's like, I am not a radio guy. But, Kip, you did a fantastic job. A round of applause for Kip Kurowski.
All right. Well, Hal and Jackie, thank you. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. Hope to see you on the road sometime.
Thank you, too. And we appreciate the input.
Yes.
Drive safe and happy trails.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right, before we go, Jackie and Hal, some words of wisdom for anyone thinking about just trading it all in for this life in a RV.
Research.
Yeah, I mean, get online to the forums. IRV2 is the number one, in my opinion, the number one forum. There's 30,000 people in this forum, and they talk about every topic imaginable. And for these people to, if they're interested in, or if they're thinking about doing something like this, it's a great resource because on that forum, they have different topics. I mean, you can just talk about the weather in a general topic, or you can go to a specific RV name brand, and they talk about issues and things with that. You have to measure what you're reading. I mean, somebody tells you, well, if you want to fix this, you got to do this, this, and this, and this. Well, I don't know. Let me talk to a couple more people, right? So, I mean, you have to be careful, but research, to Jackie's point, is very, very important. We spent 2 years researching and shopping for a bus.
To fit what we were going to do. Everybody has a different reason why they're doing this.
So many people, they say, oh my gosh, it'd be so fun just to travel the country and see the sights, and in 2 years they burn out, and financially they generally will burn down as well because they've spent all this money invested in this unit, and at the end of the day they lose a lot of money in their investment, and they become unhappy because now that they've been there, done that sort of thing, then they're burned out on it. So they have to have a reason. What's the purpose that we're doing this? And that's really got to be pretty solid. And then you've got to sit down and do a budget and figure out what it is it's going to cost you. Jackie and I would be on the road 2 or 3 times as much if we could afford to do that.
Thank you guys for making a stop here with us today. I always love seeing you. You know I think the world of you, and keep us all posted on your travels.
Thanks. And quite frankly, it's an honor to be asked to come into the West Star Studios and do this with you guys. It's a lot of fun, and it's always great to see everybody too. So,
and I know this is a podcast, and you can't see what Jackie and Hal look like, but I have to tell you, the two of them look 10 years younger and totally stress-free. They make living on the road look awfully tempting. I'm Kim Commando. Thanks for joining us for this delightful podcast. I hope everyone can take some time to enjoy life's long and winding road. Be sure that you subscribe. Read all my articles. We've got everything that you need to operate wisely in the world today. My website is a great education, and it's totally free. It doesn't get much better than that. I'm Kim Commando, of course, America's Digital Pro. Thanks for listening, and remember, subscribe so anytime we release a new podcast, you get it automatically, even in your sleep.